Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Accepted. So, right off the bat, I'm a huge fan of this movie. I've seen it countless times throughout the years, and after rewatching it, I still love it. It's still thebomb.com, and yeah, like this is a movie that I saw when I was pretty young. I don't think I was that young, but basically, my neighbor, he was like a couple years older, and we'd always hang with him. Like we had like a bunch of like neighbor kids on the block that I grew up on, and they were like some of them were older, some of them were our same age. Like we had some kids down the street that we would play hockey with, and then some kids on our block that we would just play like, pick up baseball, just like hang, play some, Guitar Hero, all that. But anyways, my one neighbor that we would hang with a lot, he would always say like, "You gotta watch Accepted. It's the best movie. It's so funny. You gotta watch Accepted." Like I feel like he would just say it over and over and over. You gotta watch Accepted. You gotta watch Accepted. And you know, the time that this came out, I was in like elementary school, so you know, it wasn't like I was just like, riding my bike up to Blockbuster. Like the only times I would go there would be like with my parents, and I couldn't just like rent whatever I wanted. So he would always be like, "You gotta watch Accepted," and then like if like my dad was with us, like he'd be like, "Oh, it's not even that inappropriate," because it was like PG-13. He's like, "It's not even that inappropriate. It's like it's just really funny. Like you gotta let him watch it." So yeah, like it was PG-13, and maybe like my dad thought it was like kind of raunchy, so he uh, he never let me watch it when I was like real young. But I don't know the first time I watched it if I did rent it or if I just caught it on TV. But I like instantly loved this movie. Like I had so much hype built up because my neighbor was always hyping this movie up, like acting like it was, you know the best comedy ever. And so I had like, pretty high hopes for it. And then like the first time I saw it, it definitely like knocked my socks off. I'm like, oh my goodness, like I totally get what he was saying. Like I was looking at the reviews for this. Well, like no, I wasn't looking at all the reviews, but I was like looking at the Wikipedia, and it was like it didn't get that great of reviews, which I think comedies don't usually get good reviews, but like some of the critics were just saying like some weird stuff. They're like the plot is inconsistent and blah blah blah. It's like, dude, it's just like a lighthearted comedy. Like give it a rest. Like, oh, that you're worried about like the plot being inconsistent. Some guy blows stuff up with his mind. This movie is just it doesn't make any logical sense. Like get out of my face with that. These darn movie critics, they need to get a life or something. I don't know, because this movie slaps. And like I said, one thing led to another. One thing led to another. I eventually watched it somehow when I got like a little bit older. Not super old though, but I mean I'm still like not super old. I'm like in my 20s, so like I'm still a young individual. So but yeah, one thing led to another. I eventually watched it, loved it, and throughout the years, like I've always watched this again. I always catch it on, you know, TV or streaming or whatever medium. I always, whenever this movie's on, I watch it. I love it every time. I think I own it on DVD. I'm pretty darn sure, but I just watched it on streaming. I have like so many movies, like not even like I just have some back here, but I have like a bunch, and it's just sometimes I don't feel like digging through all of them, just because they're like organized weird, and I don't want to like mess them up too much. It would be like I would have to dig through everything. But anyways, yeah, I always love this movie when it comes on, when I feel like watching it. And a couple years back, so basically like I was in college for a year, and then I wasn't really feeling it. So then I took a couple years off, and then I came back, and I was kind of like, initially I kind of felt weird because I was like a little bit older. I was like pretty much the age people were that were like graduating. I was just taking like the introductory classes, and I kind of felt like a little insecure about it or whatever. I'm still in school. I'm just like chipping away. But anyways, like I rewatched this and Van Wilder, and I think I watched like Tommy Boy around that time, and it just like made me like feel really good. It just like hit the spot. Like I was like, yeah, I'm just on my Van Wilder stuff. You know, it's just like taking me a little extra time. I'm just on my accepted stuff. I do relate to like the main character because you know, I mean, I got into like a couple of schools, but I didn't have like the best grades ever. Like all my buddies were getting into schools, and I'm like, that's like the main reason why I like started applying to colleges, because I'm like, all my buddies are going to school. Like my parents went. I'm like, I better get my grades up. So I got my grades up, got into a couple places. But yeah, this movie, when you're like an older, you know, college student and you don't have that much direction. Like when I was first coming back, I was like 21 or 22 or something, and yeah, this movie hit the spot. But anyways, let me just let me actually get into some stuff about the movie. Those are just like a couple like little random things that I wanted to touch on, but I'm gonna get into the movie a little bit. I'm not gonna do like a plot summary or anything in this video. I'm just gonna like talk about fun characters and scenes and situations that I like. So first things first, my dude Glenn is absolutely hilarious. Like the shrimp slushy line is like the most memorable line in this movie. He's like, "How'd you get fired?" And, "Oh, I made a shrimp slushy." "Wow, dude, why would you make a shrimp slushy?" "Cause I was hungry and thirsty." And then they're talking about like how like he's like working at some gas station or something because he couldn't get into college, and they're like, "Why couldn't he get into college?" And they're like, "Oh, he got a 0 on his SAT." And then Jonah Hill's character's like, "How do you get a 0? You get 600 points for just writing your name." And he's just, like, Glenn's just like, "Oh man, jeez," like he's just like a total goofball. But I mean, he goes hard with the culinary arts. And then it was funny too when like his like ex-girlfriend was like coming into the school, and he's like on the roof. He's just like yelling at her. He's like, "You broke my heart." That was awesome. But yeah, Glenn rocks. I mean, one of the funniest characters. He's got all the memorable lines in this movie. And moving on here, you got a young Jonah Hill. This was pre Superbad, dude. Cause I was just looking at it now. Superbad came out in 2007. This came out in 2006. You got like young pre Superbad Jonah Hill, and he's straight killing it. You know, he's funny. He's like more of like this like uptight intellectual type, but I really liked his character. It was cool seeing him. I mean, he's the man. Like even to this day, like he's I mean he's an icon. You know, I mean he's been in so many. He was in Wolf of Wall Street. He was in Moneyball. He's in all kinds of classics. He was in Beach Bum with Harmony Korine. He was in that like golfing scene. So I mean, Jonah Hill rocks. So it's like cool to see him, and it was like cool. This is probably one of like the first few movies he did. I think maybe like 40-Year-Old Virgin was around this time, because I remember he had like a small part in that where he's like trying to buy those like bedazzled shoes. But yeah, pretty darn cool seeing him. I really liked the dean in this, who was played by Lewis Black. I really liked the scene where Bartleby's parents are they're like, "Yeah, we want to have a meeting with the dean. We want to make sure he's legit. We want to make sure the school is legit." And they're having this meeting with him, and he's just totally blowing it. He's like swearing. He's being like unprofessional. He's pretty much like knocking like the whole like, you know, the whole like college experience. And it was just so funny. He was like just so unhinged, just like not behaving like a dean whatsoever. And then at the end, he just like totally saves it. He's like, "Why does anyone want to go to college? to get a good job with a good starting salary. And like the dad's just like totally on board. He's like, yes, just totally, I totally forgot all that other crazy stuff you just said. And then he's like, when they like initially like go pick him up, he's like working at this shoe store at the mall, and he's just like screaming at this kid, like just gets fired from the shoe store. Like he's an iconic character, super funny. Justin Long's character was awesome. I liked like how he was just he was like an underdog and kind of like a slacker, but then he had so many good qualities as well. Like, you know, he was like super resourceful. Like he was like making the fake IDs, and he was like really good at like BSing and all that kind of stuff. And then he was like super charismatic, and he was just like a great leader. Like all of his like speeches in this were awesome, and I kind of like how, you know, he did care about the students there. Like initially he just, you know, made the school to, you know, make his parents feel like he was going to college, but then he's like, you know what, like I can't just like leave these kids on the street. You know, I didn't get accepted anywhere, neither did these kids, and they're kind of like these, you know, they're like rejects, they're like these like misfit kids, like they didn't get accepted anywhere, they have like a lot of like quirks, like they're kind of weird, you know, and he's just like, he's like the voice for all these, you know, like reject kids, because he's like that, you know, like he didn't get accepted anywhere, he didn't have the best grades, and his speech, like his initial speech to all the students was really cool, and then the speech at the end when he goes in front of the like the academic review board, awesome. Like he just totally wings it. It's awesome stuff. Like that whole ending, that whole third act is great, like super satisfying. And then you got my boy Trent from the 2009 Friday the 13th. I feel like I've mentioned this in a billion videos already, but I'm like a huge fan of the 2009 Friday the 13th, and it's funny that you know, I forgot the actor's name, but you know, he plays Trent in Friday the 13th, and he's just like this total a-hole, like douchebag type character, and then in this he's like the same exact thing. Like he just in this like era of his career, he just like totally got typecast as like the a-hole douchebag guy, but he like sells it so well. Like he kind of has that look, that kind of like clean cut preppy look, you know. I'm not hating on that, I kind of have that look. I mean, not like he has it, like he like looks like he's got the actor look going on, but yeah, like I really like liked him as like the antagonist. He was just so unlikable, but not in an annoying way. Like it's just it was just like I don't know, every time he was like on screen and messing with Bartleby, it just like irked me. I'm just like, like this guy, what's this guy's deal? Like he needs to take a chill pill, you know? Like he was a great antagonist. Like I feel like all the characters in this were great. The one guy who's like always making the wood sculptures with the giant package. Who else? I can't even. The main, like the redhead girl is cool. The main romantic interest is cool, and she's like trying to pursue photography, and like Bartleby's like helping her with that. So that, I like the romance too. Like the relationship was cool. Like I feel like they really had like good chemistry. But yeah, like basically I got to the end of my notes there, and I pretty much talked about everything I wanted to talk about. I'm gonna like cut this off in a second, because some of my videos lately have been going on pretty long, but like I said, you know, this is like a movie I've known about since I was like pretty young. Over the years I've watched it a ton of times. It just, this movie never gets old for me. I like this like era of comedies, you know. I feel like I've said this in other videos, like a lot of these kind of like these comedies that focus around these slacker characters, you know, like they don't really make movies like that, and I feel like they're like super relatable, and they're just a good time. This is just like a feel good movie. Like how could you not like this movie unless you're like a punk busta movie critic. Movie critic. I said critic. I don't know how to speak, and I make videos. I don't know, but yeah, all these critics, they're some punk busters. How you gonna hate Accepted? Like, get out of here, dude. Like, retire from the critique game. Like, go be a painter or something. I don't know. Go work at Olive Garden. I don't know. But yeah, like, I feel like, you know, you just can't hate this movie. It's just like a nice, feel good, fun, funny movie. I love this era. Like I said, the slacker movies. Like, you got Justin Long and Waiting. That's like a typical. That's a similar. I was gonna say typical, similar. That's a similar type thing where, like, you know, it's this like young guy. He's kind of lost. Like, I like those movies. You know, I feel like when you're a younger guy, you can relate to that stuff, and it's funny. It's just something chill to put on. This movie slaps. This is thebomb.com. I mean, it's Accepted. If you haven't seen it, 10 out of 10, would recommend. Go check it out immediately. It's on Netflix. So I mean, what are you doing? Just turn off the video. What do I need? Views or something? I don't even need that. Just go watch this movie. That's why I'm here. I'm like here to put people hip to movies. Also, cause I mean, I do it for me also, cause it's fun. And I mean, yeah, I wouldn't mind some views. So I mean, get the views up on this. Watch this a million times. Just put it on in the background a trillion times. No, I'm just playing. But anyways, that's been my review of Accepted. Thank you all very much for watching, and peace out.